Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, thanks so much. I just want to preface really quick that I disappeared once again. 2023 was like a very chaotic year for me, but I have a house now, so I feel like I can actually kind of function again, and I already have January and February completely planned out for all the content that I want to create. So it's more just a matter of actually doing it and editing them. So I don't want to not do this just because life got in the way. And this is my New Year's resolution, is to do this for an entire year and stick to it. So it's a very simple goal, but it's a lot harder than it looks. And shout out to all of you humans who are out there still doing it when I couldn't manage it. So kudos to all of you. I love all of you, and I hope you are all doing well. We're gonna jump into today's video. Without further ado, I'm going to talk about the 4 of my favorite books that I read this year. Starting with the book that I literally finished today, December 29th or something like that, is Engin of Empire by R.S. Ford. Elle from Elliot Brooks' booktube channel, she raves about this book all the time, and I happened to pull it from my little jar and I flew through this. Like, as soon as I actually started it, I flew through it. It's very Game of Thrones, it's very fast paced, there's never a dull moment, like you literally won't know what's coming next. The best I can describe this is it's very political heavy. It's not really as much of a fantasy as I thought it was going to be. You're following a family who is really central to the political happenings in the world, so it's very important that you know what's going on, but you're following each of them and you have different POVs. So you have 2 sons and a daughter and the mom. And so you're just following their family as things start to slowly unravel, and they are at the forefront and they don't know it. So if that intrigues you at all, I thought it was really well done. I know that the second book is already out, and I don't know about the third. It is a trilogy, I believe, so I just don't know when the third one is planning to come out. The next book that actually really surprised me, I read this in like the middle of the summer, which I don't know that was maybe the best time to read this, but nonetheless I enjoyed it very, very much, hence it being on the list. And it's Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. This was my first J. Kristoff book, and I'll be very honest, I actually started this as my first book of the year in 2023, but I got about 50 pages in, and for whatever reason, I needed a break from my 60 books of 2022. And by the time I got to this, I was like, you know what? I need like a 2-week break before I pick up something. And then I picked up something completely different than this, and then I just never went back to it. So my fault. But wow, it really took me by surprise, and it looks huge, but I promise the paperback is nowhere near as big as this. It is a big book, but not quite as chunky as it looks. If you don't know anything about Empire the Vampire, it is a story of a vampire recounting his tale, how he is now in prison. And so you are kind of getting this past POV with current POV. And it's really fascinating. It's really well done. It has a very different take on vampires. This is like very grimdark. It's very violent. There's lots of death, lots of bad things happening. Nobody is good. Nobody is, I was going to say nobody's bad, but everybody's bad. So take that how you will. I love a good morally gray character. They're the best. And that's probably why it's on my list. I know book 2 is planned to come out, I believe, very early in 2023. It's like maybe in the first quarter. I think it's January, February, March. I can't exactly remember, but if I find it, I'll put it up on the screen for you guys. I am really excited about this. I think that it was a really nice surprise for me, and I read like the entirety, 800 pages in like 2 days. I was so sucked in, and it would have been a phenomenal read in October or even maybe like September. My second favorite book of the year was The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang, and this one was actually my boyfriend's pick. He saw a TikTok of 2 people talking about this, and they were saying that it was their favorite read, and he was like, I know you have this book, you need to read it next. So he came and picked it for me as soon as I finished my next book, and I am so glad that he did. I was so impressed by this book. It's pretty long. I think it's like 800 pages. Oh, sorry, 700. Nope, 600 pages. And it's pretty long, and the beginning is a little bit slow, but everything at the middle to end makes up for any slowness that happened in the beginning. This mainly follows 2 main characters, Misaki and Mamoru. I can't say that very well. And they are both from the same family. It's very much so like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where there's a little bit of bending that is happening in this world. So they have different elements that they can manipulate and things like that, but also combined then with samurai. It's fascinating. It's very political in some ways. It shows a lot of like what the government can show and cover up and get away with, for being such a short book and a standalone. This was like the most emotional I have ever been when reading a book. I don't think I've cried yet reading a book, but holy crap, this almost got me. This was like, I was reading it in bed and was like, I am tearing up. Like, I did not expect to feel as emotional or as like impacted as I did. The writing was excellent, and I can't say enough about this book. Like, those 2 guys on the podcast were right. Wow, very, very good. And then my final book and favorite of the year, which was like a very close tie between Sword of Kaigen and this one, but if you watched any of my earlier videos this year, you might not be surprised to see this on the list, but I kind of am. It just really stuck with me throughout the year, and it was like between this and Sword of Kaigen, and it's Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This is by far, you probably can't see it, but this is by far my most like annotated and marked up book that I own. I read this in February, and it was phenomenal. It just like shook me. I knew that like obviously a lot of the story is based around like monster Frankenstein not being the real monster and Dr. Frankenstein being the real monster, but I didn't expect the level of writing to impress me as much as it did, and I was just blown away at most of this story. I was like really shocked that Frankenstein has like this whole arc and journey that like I had no idea about, and I think hands down this has one of the most like quotable storylines I've ever read. Like, some of the things that he says and the way that he says them are just phenomenal, and it really makes you think about like really who is the real monster in this story. And you could probably write like an in-depth thesis paper on this book, and I'm sure people have, but it just impressed me so much, and it stuck with me, and I'm really surprised to see a classic beat out all of my fantasy stories this year. And I don't know, maybe that says something about 2024, but I hope to finally branch out a little bit more. I've always loved classics since I've started reading, and I try to read at least a few of them every year, but this is so far up on my classics list that I'm just so impressed. I loved it so much, and if you haven't read Frankenstein, highly, highly recommend. No movie, no show, no nothing comes even close to the book. That was my favorite read of 2023, which is pretty crazy. Very, very happy. Well, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It's nice to see all of you again please let me know how your reading year was. Let me know what your favorite book of the year was. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!